Hello, I'm Pat Harvey.
And I'm Rick Garcia, and this is a special presentation from KCAL 9 News.
One 797 agents coming from upstairs in the Mandalay Bay. Gunshots. 1692 means we got shots fired. 4:15 a.m. Route 291 sounded like an automatic firearm.
It was 10 minutes of terror on the Vegas Strip.
When it was over, 58 people were dead.
Let's go.
Almost 500 were trampled or shot.
There were 6 of our family in there. Thank God that we all 6 made it out. But at the same time, my heart grieves for everyone.
And all 22,000 people at the concert will be haunted for life with memories of the horrific violence.
Don't take life for granted. You never think it'll happen to you until it does.
Las Vegas, Southern California, and the nation stunned and sickened by the violence.
It was an act of pure evil.
In the next half hour, we will document the Las Vegas mass shooting in depth.
The fact that my brother did this is...
Profile the shooter who grew up in Southern California.
We were holding each other's hands. You're just telling her, we got this, baby girl, we're gonna be okay. And I don't know how many times I told her I loved her.
We'll honor the 31 Southern Californians who lost their lives.
And then I'll get to go home. I get to go home today, back to LA to see my daughter.
And hear from the survivors.
I'm far from what a hero is. I just did what any human would do in that situation right there.
And recognize the heroes.
All tonight as we look back at the Las Vegas mass shooting.
The Las Vegas shooting had a profound impact on the nation and on Southern California. More than half of all the people who were killed had roots here.
In the next half hour, we'll present everything we know about the worst mass shooting in modern American history. And hopefully, we'll add some perspective to it all.
We begin with a detailed timeline of how a madman's evil plot unfolded minute by minute.
9:59, Stephen Paddock shoots a security guard outside his room and shoots him in the leg. The guard radios for help, but the AP reports the hotel did not call police for 6 minutes. The hotel denies this and says it was more like 30 seconds. 10:05, Paddock breaks 2 windows in his suite and opens fire on the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival more than 1,000 feet away. Shots can be heard ringing out as Jason Aldean sings on stage. By the second burst of gunfire, both he and the crowd can tell what's happening as the festival grounds become a killing field. The shooter continues firing in bursts up to a full minute each, pausing at times to reload or change guns, while the people below run for their lives. 10:08, the first call of shots fired comes into police. Body cam footage shows officers entering the firing zone trying to pinpoint the shooter.
We have multiple casualties. GSW's at the medical tent. Multiple casualties. Most of the Mandalay Bay is clear of the window.
They soon realize the shots are coming from the Mandalay Bay. Officers can see the muzzle flashes, but they can't fire back. Some run into the hotel to begin searching as bullets keep raining down. Others try to protect the crowd. 10:14. 2 officers reach the 31st floor and tell dispatchers the gunfire is coming from directly above them. 10:15. The shooting stops. It's still not clear why. 10:17, officers reach the 32nd floor. They see a room service card with wires hanging out. Thinking it might be an explosive, and with no more shots being fired, they decide to wait for SWAT teams to arrive. Below, medics in body armor join officers and concert-goers trying to help the wounded.
Everyone's just communicating and working together. You got this person, you got this person.
Ambulances line up, but are overwhelmed, so some of the injured piled into pickups. Others escape any way they can, including cars, Ubers, and taxis.
There's a mass shooting. There were dead bodies everywhere.
10:30, the first victims arrive at Sunrise Medical Center.
There was blood everywhere, and there were, honestly, I want to say bodies on stretchers everywhere.
Oh my God.
The patients kept rolling in, and we're just trying to find placement for everybody.
11:20, back at the hotel, SWAT blows open the doors to the shooter's room.
Breach, breach, breach.
Inside, officers see what they describe as a gun store, rifles everywhere, with ammunition stacked in neat piles, and the shooter's body with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
We have one suspect down in 135 Mandalay Bay.
Stephen Paddock graduated from Poly High in Sun Valley and went to college at what is now Cal State Northridge. We've learned a great deal about him since the attack, but we still have no answer for the most important question. Why? Why did he do it?
Stephen Paddock lived in a retirement community in Mesquite, Nevada, about 80 miles from Las Vegas, with his 62-year-old girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley. He had no criminal record and no apparent ties to extremism. In a 2011 deposition after he sued the Cosmopolitan Hotel over a fall, Paddock said he took Valium for anxiety. He said he gambled all night and slept all day, sometimes betting up to $1 million per binge. In October 2016, Paddock began accumulating 33 weapons from gun stores in 4 states. Paddock somehow carried more than 10 suitcases full of guns and equipment to his suite in the Mandalay Bay. Police assumed he had to have help, but so far, there's no evidence of it. There's also no concrete evidence of why he did it. Paddock left no notes, no manifestos, just a piece of paper scrawled with the trajectories for firing the deadliest shots from the specific distance and height of his room. The chilling calculations of a cold-blooded killer.
58 people died in the attack. Mothers, fathers, grandparents, brothers, sisters, a police officer. They were from all parts of the country and all bound by a love of country music. 31 people from Southern California went to that concert and never returned home. All were loved by family and friends who are now grieving their senseless loss. Tonight, we remember and honor all of these men and women.
Our message to families is to love your kids hard.
That's what Sandra Casey did. She was a special education teacher for students at Manhattan Beach Middle School.
John Phippen, a contractor and Valencia native, stopped with his son to help another concert goer. He was killed. His son was also hit but survived.
Susan Smith was a mother of 2 and office manager at Vista Elementary in Simi Valley.
Dana Gardner of Grand Terrace worked for the San Bernardino County Recorder's Office for 26 years.
Angela Gomez was a recent Riverside Poly High grad who friends say lived fearlessly.
Just a hardworking, dedicated young woman, sweet to a fault.
Jennifer Parks was a Palmdale mother of 2 who taught kindergarten. Family members call her one of the most loving people you could ever meet.
Carrie Galvan was a mother of 3 from Thousand Oaks and server at Mastro Steakhouse.
Rachel Parker worked the front desk for the Manhattan Beach Police Department for 10 years with compassion and joy.
Whenever I walked by, she took time to look my way, wave and smile, and that wasn't just for me, that was for everybody.
Michelle Vo from Eagle Rock worked for New York Life Insurance and was part of the LAX Coastal Chamber of Commerce.
Navy veteran Christopher Roybal from Corona handled bomb-sniffing dogs during the war in Afghanistan.
Carrie Barnett of Garden Grove worked at Disneyland and loved going to car shows with her father.
I miss her.
Jordan Rivera of Laverne was a senior at Cal State San Bernardino, a role model and a great softball player.
Friends called Corona home builder Thomas Day Jr. Daddy Day because he treated everyone like his kids.
Rocio Guillen was paralyzed from complications giving birth to her son, but she learned to walk again and made it to all of her kids' games.
That was my last memory of her, cheering me on.
Hannah Allers was at the concert with her husband. The mother of 3 from Beaumont was also a skydiver.
Nicole Kimura of Placentia, described by friends as a beacon of light with a smile as big as her spirit.
Austin Davis, a pipe fitter from Riverside, the kind of friend you could count on.
I could call Austin, and it doesn't matter what it's involving, Austin would have been there for me.
Candace Bowers was a mother of two from Seal Beach who loved to dance.
Chris Hazencombe of Camarillo died shielding a woman from the gunfire.
Lieutenant Derek Bo Taylor of Oxnard was a corrections officer and father of two. He was at the concert with his girlfriend Denise Cohen.
Her sons called the mother of two from Carpinteria a happy person who made a difference to the lives of everyone she knew.
Laura Shipp of Thousand Oaks moved to Las Vegas 5 years ago to be closer to her son.
Brian Frazier, a realtor from La Palma, recently became a minister to officiate his son's wedding.
He was a guy that took care of everyone that he came in contact with.
Jonathan Palmonte went to Long Beach Poly. Just last month, his wife gave birth to twins.
Christiana Duarte of Torrance had just graduated from college and started a new job with the LA Kings, who honored her on their helmets.
Heather Alvarado of Riverside, a married mother of three, loved going on family trips with her husband, a firefighter.
Victor Link of Aliso Viejo was at the concert with his fiancée. He loved snowboarding and wine tasting.
Melissa Ramirez of the Antelope Valley recently graduated from Cal State Bakersfield.
Patty Mestis of Menifee loved country music. Her Facebook page is filled with photos of children and grandchildren.
Andrea Castilla was a makeup artist at Sephora in Orange County. At the concert for her 28th birthday, her boyfriend was about to propose.
Lisa Patterson of Lomita was married 30 years and a mother of three. At a memorial, her daughter echoed what so many have said about those lost.
She would just love to see everybody here today.
And coming up next, surviving terror.
People who lived through the nightmare on Las Vegas Boulevard share their harrowing stories when we come back. Forever Vegas Strong, you can still donate to the Las Vegas Victims Fund. We have a link to their official GoFundMe page on our website, cbsla.com. Many survivors of the attack have a long road ahead of them, healing from their physical wounds and overcoming the psychological scars.
Flashbacks, fear, anxiety, depression, guilt. Survivors are facing it all.
And they don't get to go home. I get to go home today, back to LA to see my daughter, but they don't. And I'm having trouble understanding that.
Even for the survivors, there was trauma, some of it physical, some emotional. Each one forever changed by what happened. When the shooting started, most people thought the same thing.
Fireworks or something, we didn't think it was real.
But it quickly became clear that someone was shooting. At first, people got down. Some would never get back up. And the others soon realized they had to run. Many made it out, but others had been hit and needed help. Amy McCaslin says a complete stranger shielded her.
I can barely remember what he looked like, but he completely covered me. He covered my face. He said, "I've got you."
Michael Castor was shot through the chest. As his lungs started filling with blood, his girlfriend had a choice.
People were telling me, just leave, they'll come back for the survivors, and I was like, I'm not leaving him.
A father who'd gotten a frantic text from his daughter took a cab toward the shooting and picked up his daughter, plus as many strangers as they could fit.
Get in! Get in! Get in! Everybody!
Survivors started pouring into nearby casinos like the Tropicana looking for medical help. Makeshift triages sprung up. Stephen Visalia was hit in the leg but made it to a sidewalk where strangers helped bandage him. He wasn't the only one.
It was pretty amazing to see how many people were helping out all of us people sitting on the curb.
The boots Visalia left behind on that sidewalk became a symbol of Vegas Strong. When President Trump arrived, Thomas Gunderson of Newport Beach stood to greet him, even though his leg had been nearly shattered by a bullet. The survivors, like Ontario police officer Michael Gracia, who was hit in the head but survived with the help of his fiancée, who was also shot, may be scarred. But they're also determined to make the most of their second chance and move forward.
There's things that we think are important in this world. There's things that really don't mean a whole lot. And those sometimes seem to get out of order very quick based on the world we live in.
Gun control is back in the crosshair of Congress.
But will the unity that followed the Las Vegas mass shooting translate into unity on Capitol Hill?
After every mass shooting, there are new pushes to tighten gun control in our country.
But the right to bear arms is enshrined in our Constitution, and guns have a prominent role in our culture, on TV, in movies, and in music.
So, will anything change after Las Vegas? We asked political reporter Dave Bryan to explore the question.
When Hank Williams Jr. belts out his song God and Guns from the album It's About Time, it epitomizes how deeply the gun culture is embedded in the American psyche. Eve Haney, a 62-year-old grandmother, is firing an AR-15 assault rifle in a target competition. Robin Sandoval learned to shoot to protect her family.
I wanted to be my children's first responder. I wanted to protect them.
This AR is my favorite AR.
They believe there should be general access to weapons like their ARs.
Because it's our right. It's our Second Amendment right. It really goes down to that.
Police can't be everywhere. We chose to allow our people to be armed and to take measures for the safety of themselves and their families.
How many more must die?
You have to stand up. You have to say enough is enough.
Now, in the aftermath of the Vegas massacre, some Democrats and gun control activists are fired up to give gun control another try.
I think the people need to get active, call Congress, call their federal senators.
The targets for gun control advocates include bills to mandate background checks, to prevent stalkers from purchasing guns, and a ban on so-called bump stocks.
Let's try a 30-round ammo dump.
Portable devices that essentially convert legal semi-automatic rifles capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute. And now some Republicans are listening.
It's certainly something that should be looked at.
I'd be willing to entertain those.
They're open to talking about the idea of banning bump stocks, they say.
Fully automatic weapons have been outlawed for many, many years. This seems to be a way of going around that.
I was struck that almost immediately you saw some pretty senior Republican lawmakers were willing to at least talk about it and debate the issue, which is farther than we've gone in several years.
But Republicans are still far from unanimous that it's time for some action to control guns or at least automatic weapons devices in some form.
We'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by.
It's been my experience that criminals obey gun laws like politicians keep promises.
Or, as Hank Williams Jr. sang it,
well, we might as well give up and run if we let them take our God and gun.
Dave Bryan, thank you.
A new poll from Politico shows just how complicated gun control issues are right now.
After the Vegas shooting, 64% of Americans say they support stricter laws.
But only 26% actually believe Congress will actually do anything about it in the next year, risking their own lives to save others.
Meet courageous women and men who sprung into action even while the bullets were still flying.
Finally tonight, we'd like to recognize the heroes.
Ordinary people who found themselves in an extraordinary situation and reacted by instinct and with courage.
And he laid on top of me and he said, "I love you, Lori." And I said, "I love you too, Jack." So those were our last words.
A husband shields his wife from bullets with his last breath. Jack Beaton's act of heroism and sacrifice was one of many that kept a horrible tragedy from becoming even worse.
As the bullets rained down, some people's training and courage kicked in, like retired firefighter Don Matthews, who stayed to treat a woman shot in the chest and convinced her children to run to safety.
Your mom will feel better if she knows you're safe. And they said, well, promise me you'll stay with my mom.
Oh my God.
Off-duty LA City firefighter Robert Hayes also stayed behind, checking victims to see who could be helped. Afterwards, he explained why.
If that was someone in my family, that's what I would have wanted somebody to do for me.
And nurse Larissa Loy stopped to help George Cook, pushing the wheelchair-bound single father to safety as bullets zipped by her head. Meanwhile, on-duty firefighters poured into the fairgrounds to treat the wounded, even as the gunshots continued, while police officers encouraged others to run for safety, while they pushed ahead to try to locate and take down the heavily armed shooter.
But people without any training also found ways to save lives. Montebello photographer Dennis Guerrero had just finished taking pictures of singer Jason Aldean when gunfire erupted. He helped several people in the wheelchair section to escape.
People were gonna walk, people who were in scooters, wheelchairs, it was pandemonium to get out.
Marine veteran Taylor Winston stole a truck at the concert so he could rush wounded people to the hospital. Sean Rawl was a friend of a performer, so he knew the quickest ways to escape, and that's what he helped people do over and over until his backpack was stained with the blood of the people he'd saved. He wasn't hurt.
But Jonathan Smith was. He went back to help others get out when he got shot in the neck. A first responder reached him in time to stop the bleeding and save his life. The bullet will stay lodged in him forever, but he has no regrets.
I'm far from what a hero is. I just did what any human would do in that situation right there.
Ben Cole, an off-duty firefighter whose EMT daughter Rachel was working the concert, found each other in the chaos and then treated dozens of wounded together. Afterwards, they described how even those who were already hit still found a way to be heroic.
The fact that he could be so selfless and know that there are others in need as well.
So much courage in the face of so much evil. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Rick Garcia.
And I'm Pat Harvey, and count on us for continuing coverage as we search for answers and look for healing after the Las Vegas mass shooting.